The world was at peace, or at least it seemed so. Children played in the streets, their laughter echoing between tall buildings. Families filled parks, markets, and train stations. Across the planet, people moved with the quiet rhythm of daily life, unaware that history was about to break. Above the blue skies of Earth, something dark and terrible waited. At first, it was only a shadow that no one noticed. Astronomers in faraway observatories saw strange movements, flickers of light far beyond the moon. They thought it was a glitch, maybe a reflection of satellites. But then the signals grew stronger, closer, and more focused. The Council of Earth's space agencies tried to keep it quiet. They did not want panic. But panic arrived anyway, riding on the fire of the first strike. It happened without warning. One clear morning over New York, the sky ripped open. A massive shape, black as night, broke through the clouds. It moved with power, with no sound of engines, only the heavy silence of something unnatural. People stopped in the streets and looked up, confused, then terrified. Before anyone could speak, the ship released a beam of burning light. In one breath, towers of glass and steel turned to dust. Fire spread across the city as screams filled the air. At the same time, in London, a similar shadow appeared. This one hovered above the River Thames, cold and merciless. In Beijing, fire rained down on crowded districts. Tokyo shook with the thunder of destruction as ships cut the skyline with blades of light. Islamabad, Paris, Moscow, every corner of the world felt the storm. It was not one ship. It was an invasion fleet. They had come from the void, faster than any human craft could ever travel. They had studied Earth, perhaps for years, waiting for this moment. Now they revealed themselves, not with words, but with fire. Across the planet, humanity saw its cities torn apart. Millions died within the first hour. Families were separated, homes turned to ashes. Soldiers and police fired at the sky, but their bullets and rockets did nothing against the towering ships. To the invaders, Earth was weak prey. They believed humanity would break quickly, kneel, and surrender. They had crushed other worlds before, burning civilizations into silence. To them, Earth was just another planet to conquer. But they did not know the truth about the species they had chosen to attack. They did not understand that humans were born from struggle, raised by storms, and hardened by endless wars among themselves. To break humanity was not as simple as they imagined. Underground bunkers and military command centers lit up with emergency orders. Leaders across the world connected through secure channels. Shock filled their voices, but beneath that shock was something else: anger. Humanity had fought itself for centuries, yet now, for the first time in history, it faced a single enemy together. People crawled out from ruins, covered in dust and blood. Some cried for their families, some searched for survivors, and some clenched their fists with fury. Fear was there, yes, but anger was stronger. The invaders had come to crush humanity's spirit, but instead, they had awakened it. In the burning ruins of cities, strangers helped strangers. Firefighters dragged children from wreckage while doctors worked without rest, turning subway tunnels into hospitals. Soldiers gathered what weapons they had left. Ordinary people picked up steel pipes, hunting rifles, anything they could hold. They refused to kneel. The aliens above watched from their ships, believing their job was nearly done. They thought the flames would break Earth's will. They were wrong. Humanity was not broken. Humanity was uniting. Across the world, whispers spread like sparks. They whispered of vengeance, of survival, of a future stolen and a future to be taken back. In shattered streets, in secret bunkers, in smoking fields, voices rose together. The invaders had started a war, but they had made one fatal mistake. They had attacked Earth as if it were weak. They had struck cities, burned homes, and spilled innocent blood. They thought humanity would fall. But instead, they had awakened something far more dangerous. Humanity's rage. Humanity's fire. Humanity's fury. And as the smoke rose into the sky, one truth became clear. The attackers had lit a fire that would not burn out. They had thought humans were prey. But prey can fight back. Prey can bite. And when prey stands together, it becomes something else entirely. A predator. A dragon. The day the sky burned was not the end of Earth. It was the beginning. The world lay in ruins, but humanity was still alive. Smoke rose from broken cities, dark clouds covering the stars. Streets were filled with silence, only broken by the cries of survivors. Where once there had been laughter and light, now there was only dust, blood, and fear. But in that fear, something began to stir. In underground bunkers, old command centers, and secret shelters, leaders gathered. They spoke through flickering screens, their faces lit by the glow of failing power grids. Presidents, generals, scientists, and commanders sat together, not as separate nations, but as one desperate people. The aliens had sent a message. It was not written in words, but in fire. Surrender, or be destroyed. The fleet above Earth had broadcast their demand across all frequencies. The voice of the invaders was cold, mechanical, and merciless. Submit. Hand over your world. Serve the Galactic Council. Or burn. To the aliens, the choice was simple. To humanity, the choice was impossible. Fear gripped many hearts, but the memory of burning cities still burned brighter than fear. In New York's ruins, survivors carried their wounded on makeshift stretchers. In Tokyo, fire brigades formed human chains to pass buckets of water into collapsed train tunnels. In Islamabad, soldiers stood at roadblocks with what little ammunition they had left, refusing to abandon the streets to chaos. In Moscow, underground subway tunnels became shelters for thousands. Across the world, the same story unfolded. Humanity was bleeding, but humanity was not surrendering. A woman in London who had lost her family dug through rubble to rescue strangers. A farmer in Africa drove his tractor into the wreckage to pull survivors free. A child in Brazil shared the last piece of bread he had with another who was crying. These small acts of defiance, scattered across the globe, began to form something larger. The aliens could burn buildings, but they could not burn the will of the people. Humanity's cry was rising. In the hidden war rooms, generals laid out desperate plans. Earth's militaries were shattered, but not destroyed. There were submarines still hidden beneath the seas. There were missile silos buried deep in the mountains. There were secret satellites waiting for commands. Even old fighter jets and tanks, though useless against alien shields, became symbols of resistance. Every scrap of metal mattered now. Scientists spoke of captured signals, strange energy signatures left behind by alien weapons. Perhaps they could be studied, perhaps turned into new weapons. Engineers suggested building traps, using Earth's terrain against the invaders. If humanity could not win with strength, perhaps it could win with cunning. Across the world, radios crackled with voices of survivors. Resistance groups began to form in basements and forests, in deserts and mountains. Some had weapons, most did not, but all had the same vow: never surrender. The aliens continued their strikes, sending patrol ships to hunt survivors. But for the first time, one of those ships did not return. In the ruins of Paris, a human unit armed with old rockets and stolen alien rifles brought down a scout craft. The wreckage became a treasure chest. Its broken weapons were carried to hidden labs, its engines torn apart for study. Humanity had made its first answer, small but powerful. The news spread like fire across the ruins. The people cheered, not because they had won, but because they had proven they could fight back. In a bunker beneath Washington, a general looked at the surviving leaders and spoke words that carried through every hidden channel. They wanted us to kneel. We will stand instead. They wanted to break us. We will rise instead. For the first time in history, Earth will fight as one. The room fell silent. Then one by one, leaders nodded. Old enemies shook hands. Nations that had never trusted each other now swore an oath together. Humanity had never been united before. Not in peace. But now it was united in rage. The aliens thought Earth would fall quickly. Instead, Earth had just awakened. Across the galaxy, the invaders watched. They did not fear yet. To them, Humans were still weak, still fragile. They believed the resistance would not last. But they were wrong. For in the ashes of burned cities, in the blood of the fallen, in the cries of children and the rage of survivors, something new had been born. Humanity's first cry was not of surrender. It was of defiance. It was the cry of a wounded world refusing to die. It was the sound of prey deciding to bare its teeth. And as the first sparks of rebellion lit up the night, one truth became clear. This was not the end. This was only the beginning. The galaxy had demanded Earth's submission. But instead of silence, Earth had answered with a roar. The first days after the invasion were filled with fire and fear, but the cry of humanity had already turned into action. Across the ruined cities and scattered bunkers, people began to prepare for the only answer they could give: resistance. The Galactic Council thought Earth was finished, but they were about to learn that humans were never truly finished until the last breath was gone. In the mountains of Colorado, inside an underground command bunker, generals, scientists, and engineers worked without rest. The wreckage of the alien scout craft from Paris was spread out across tables. Its weapons were unlike anything humans had ever seen, but they were not unbreakable. Pieces of its shattered core glowed with strange blue light. A scientist whispered, "If we can understand this, maybe we can use it against them." Around the world, similar labs came alive. In Moscow, engineers built crude weapons using stolen fragments of alien rifles. In Tokyo, students who once studied physics now studied the energy of alien shields. In Cairo, a group of young hackers intercepted alien transmissions, searching for weak signals. Humanity's greatest strength was not size or technology, it was creativity. The first strike back came in the deserts of Africa. An alien patrol ship hovered low, scanning the sands for survivors. But waiting beneath the dunes were human soldiers, armed with old missiles fitted with new warheads, designed using alien fragments. The missiles launched with a roar, tearing through the air. The patrol ship tried to raise its shields, but the warheads overloaded them. The alien craft exploded, burning in the sky. Survivors cheered. The fire of resistance had begun. News of the victory spread like lightning. In South America, resistance fighters used old fighter jets, hiding them in valleys, and launched a surprise attack on an alien transport ship. The jets were torn apart in the battle, but the transport was destroyed, crashing into the jungle with a thunderous impact. In Europe, groups of civilians turned subway tunnels into ambush zones, planting explosives and using stolen alien rifles. A patrol of alien soldiers walked into the trap and did not return. For the first time, the invaders began to notice that Earth was not surrendering, it was fighting back. In their great fleet above, commanders studied the reports. They saw the small victories and dismissed them at first. To them, these were only the last sparks of a dying fire. But the sparks did not die. They grew, spreading across continents, igniting flames in every land. In the ruins of Beijing, a boy no older than 16 carried messages between resistance cells. In Canada, hunters who once tracked moose now tracked alien patrols, using forests as cover. In India, engineers turned railway engines into mobile fortresses, carrying weapons and fighters. Every person became a soldier. Every street became a battlefield. Humanity's weapons were weak compared to the invaders, but they had something the aliens could not understand: unpredictability. Humans fought in ways that made no sense to the invaders. They attacked from shadows, struck supply lines, then vanished into forests or sewers. They used tricks, traps, and deception. An alien commander complained in frustration, "These humans do not fight like soldiers. They fight like beasts." He was right. Humans were fighting like cornered wolves. And wolves, when cornered, become even more dangerous. In one daring mission, a team of special forces in Eastern Europe managed to board a damaged alien frigate. Armed with explosives and stolen rifles, they moved through the ship like shadows. They planted charges on its engines and escaped in a stolen shuttle. Moments later, the frigate exploded in orbit, a star of fire above the Earth. The sight gave hope to billions hiding below. For the first time, People looked up at the night sky and smiled. The Council had promised the galaxy that Earth would fall quickly. But the Council had not counted on this kind of resistance. Other alien species, secretly watching the war, began to take interest. Some whispered among themselves, perhaps the humans were not like other prey. Perhaps the humans were something else. Back on Earth, resistance leaders met again in hidden bunkers. Their voices were tired, their eyes filled with loss, but their spirits were stronger than ever. A general spoke firmly, "We cannot stop them in open battle. But we can bleed them. Every ship we take down, every patrol we destroy, weakens them. We must make Earth a nightmare for them." And so the nightmare began. In the streets of ruined cities, in the forests, in the oceans, humanity struck back again and again. Losses were heavy. Entire groups of fighters were wiped out. Families cried for the fallen. But still the resistance grew. Every death gave birth to 2 more fighters, 2 more soldiers of the fire. The aliens had expected quick victory. Instead, they were facing a war that would not end. And deep in the heart of every survivor, one truth became clear. The first strike back was only the beginning. Humanity had shown its teeth. Soon, it would show its claws. The first strikes of humanity had shaken the invaders, but now the resistance was preparing for something far greater. Small ambushes and scattered victories had given humans more than scraps of alien technology. They had given them hope. And hope, mixed with rage, becomes something far stronger than fear. In hidden labs across the world, stolen alien weapons were pulled apart piece by piece. Scientists studied their glowing cores and strange metals, learning how they bent light into shields and how they fired beams of energy. It was knowledge far beyond human science, yet human minds worked with desperation. What might have taken decades in peace took only weeks in war. From the ruins, new weapons were born. Crude, unstable, dangerous but powerful. In a bunker beneath the Swiss Alps, a prototype cannon powered by alien energy fired for the first time. The blast tore a mountain boulder into ash. Generals watched in silence, and then nodded. Humanity had found its fire. The resistance planned its boldest move yet, a full counterattack against an alien command ship in Earth's orbit. The ship was massive, protected by shields and guarded by patrol fleets. But it carried supplies and commanded the strikes below. If it fell, the invaders would feel Earth's fury. The plan was madness, but madness was all humanity had left. Submarines hidden beneath the oceans carried stolen missiles tipped with alien cores. Old fighter jets were stripped and rebuilt, now fitted with unstable energy cannons. Soldiers trained in abandoned tunnels, preparing to board the enemy craft if they got close enough. Across every continent, fighters whispered the same words, "We will burn them as they burned us." The night of the attack, the skies above Earth blazed with fire. From the oceans rose the first wave, missiles streaking upward through the clouds. The alien fleet moved to intercept, their shields glowing as beams of light cut the sky. Many missiles exploded before reaching their targets, but some struck true, their alien-powered warheads tearing holes in the shields. At that moment, squadrons of human fighters launched from hidden bases. Their engines roared like thunder as they climbed into the blackness of space. Pilots knew their chances of return were slim, but none turned back. They carried the rage of billions. The battle exploded above the Earth. Alien ships moved with deadly grace, but the humans fought with reckless courage. Jets swarmed like hornets, striking weak points, crashing into targets when their weapons failed. In the chaos, one squadron punched through, reaching the massive command ship. Its shields flickered under the constant assault. Then came the second wave. From underground bases, rockets launched carrying human strike teams. They rode in stolen alien shuttles, their hulls disguised just enough to slip past defenses. One by one, they latched onto the wounded command ship and forced their way inside. The fighting inside was brutal. Narrow corridors filled with smoke and fire as humans battled alien soldiers in close combat. Bullets, beams, and blades clashed in the dark. Many fell, but the resistance pressed on. They planted charges in the heart of the ship, near the energy core. Time was running out. Outside, the battle raged with fury. Dozens of human fighters were gone, ripped apart by alien cannons. Submarines beneath the oceans fired their last missiles before being hunted down. Still, the humans did not stop. Over the radio, voices shouted in dozens of languages, but all carried the same message: for Earth. Then the command ship shuddered. A deafening explosion tore through its spine as the charges ignited. Light burst across the night, brighter than a sunrise, as the alien ship split apart. Fire rained into orbit, chunks of metal burning through the sky. On the ground, billions of eyes lifted upward, watching as the impossible happened. The great command ship was falling. For the first time, humanity had destroyed one of the invaders' giants. The world erupted in cries, in tears, in cheers. The message was clear: Earth could fight, Earth could burn its enemies, Earth could strike back with fury. But victory came at a terrible cost. Thousands of fighters were gone. Cities still burned, and the alien fleet above was not defeated. If anything, the destruction of their command ship enraged them further. Across their networks, alien commanders shouted in anger. They had expected prey. Instead, they had awoken predators. The Council received word of Earth's defiance, and their halls shook with debate. Some demanded the humans be exterminated at once. Others warned that pressing harder might only make them more dangerous. Whispers began to spread across the stars, whispers the Council did not want to hear. Other enslaved worlds, other broken peoples, listened to the broadcasts of Earth's victory. They began to ask themselves a question they had not dared ask before. If the humans could fight back, why couldn't they? On Earth, survivors stood among ruins, looking at the sky with new strength in their eyes. They were still bleeding, still suffering, but they were no longer only survivors. They were warriors. Humanity had given its answer, not with surrender, but with fire and fury. And yet, deep in the shadows of space, more fleets were coming. The invaders would not give up so easily. The dragon had breathed its first flame, but the real war was only beginning. The fall of the alien command ship was more than a victory. It was a signal. Across the ruined Earth, survivors looked up at the burning wreckage in the night sky and felt something they had not felt since the invasion began: strength. The aliens had struck first with fire, but now humanity had answered with fire of its own. The dragon was stirring, and its awakening was only beginning. In hidden labs, scientists rushed to study every fragment of alien metal that fell from the skies. Energy cores, broken weapons, and pieces of shield generators were carried to underground bunkers. Engineers worked without sleep, building crude but deadly versions of alien weapons. What was once impossible was now within reach. Humanity was learning, adapting, changing. And they were doing it faster than the invaders could believe. In a hidden base beneath the Rocky Mountains, a team of scientists activated the first human-built energy shield. It was weak, unstable, and lasted only seconds, but it proved something vital. Humanity could not just steal alien technology, they could master it. The resistance grew stronger with every day. Fighters were no longer only soldiers. Farmers, teachers, engineers, and even children joined in small ways. A child in India carried messages through ruined streets. A fisherman in the Philippines turned his boat into a hidden supply vessel. A mechanic in Argentina converted trucks into armored carriers. The world had never been united before, but now all people carried the same fire. In the skies above, alien commanders raged. They sent more patrols, more bombings, more terror strikes, but instead of silence, they found resistance. Every attack was met with ambushes, traps, or sabotage. Humans refused to die quietly. In the council chambers of the invaders, debates grew heated. Some leaders demanded full extermination, fearing that humanity's spirit could spread to other worlds. Others argued that crushing them harder would only make them stronger. Across the galaxy, enslaved peoples whispered about Earth. They whispered of a small planet that had fought back. They whispered of humans who burned like dragons. Meanwhile, the resistance planned its boldest move yet, not just defense, but offense. For the first time, human fleets would leave Earth's orbit and strike the enemy beyond the sky. It was madness, but it was also necessary. If humanity wanted to survive, it could not remain trapped on its own world. They had to spread their wings. In hidden shipyards, engineers worked with desperation, rebuilding wrecked alien craft into hybrid war machines. Old submarines were converted into space launch vessels. Rockets once meant for satellites were armed with stolen weapons. Slowly, painfully, humanity built its first true space fleet. When the day of the launch came, the world held its breath. In silence, ships rose from hidden launch sites, pushing past the clouds, past the smoke, and into the endless black. Pilots gripped controls with shaking hands, knowing they carried the hope of billions. Their mission was simple and deadly: strike an alien supply station on the edge of the solar system. Without it, the invaders would weaken. The journey was long and dangerous. Alien scouts hunted them, forcing desperate battles in the void. Many ships were lost, but the fleet pressed on. They could not turn back. When they reached the station, they attacked with fury. Missiles struck its shields, cannons ripped into its armor, and boarding parties stormed its halls. The aliens fought fiercely, but they were unprepared for the savagery of human assault. Humans did not fight like soldiers of the galaxy. They fought like predators defending their home. The battle ended with the station burning, its supplies destroyed. Humanity had taken the war beyond Earth for the first time. Back on the planet, cheers erupted. For the first time in history, humanity was not only defending, it was striking deep into enemy territory. The dragon was no longer sleeping. It was awake, stretching its wings, breathing fire across the void. The galaxy trembled. In secret, alien commanders spoke words they had never imagined. They admitted fear. Fear of a species that learned too fast, fought too hard, and refused to die. Fear of humanity. On Earth, survivors gathered around fires in the ruins, telling stories of the battle. Children whispered that their parents were fighting among the stars. Elders prayed, not for peace, but for strength. And in every corner of the planet, one truth became clear. Humanity was no longer just prey. Humanity had become something else, something that could not be easily caged or controlled. The dragon had awakened, and its roar was only beginning to echo across the stars. The destruction of the alien supply station marked a turning point. Humanity was no longer fighting only on its own soil. For the first time in history, humans had carried war beyond Earth, into the void of space itself. The dragon had awakened, and its wings now stretched across the stars. In the hidden shipyards deep beneath mountains and oceans, work never stopped. Engineers and scientists labored without rest, combining human ingenuity with alien fragments. The ships they built were ugly, uneven, and unstable, but they were deadly. Some were old rockets reforged into war machines, others were captured alien shuttles reprogrammed with human software. Every vessel was proof of one thing: the humans had adapted, and they would keep adapting. Resistance fleets began to move further from Earth. They struck patrol ships near Mars, ambushed supply convoys near the asteroid belt, and destroyed listening posts in the outer solar system. Each victory came at a high cost, but each victory echoed across the galaxy. Alien commanders grew frustrated. Their fleets were larger, stronger, and more advanced, yet they could not crush the humans. Wherever they struck, humans appeared again, like fire that refused to die. They began to call them shadows of flame in their own language, for they struck fast and vanished, leaving only destruction behind. The Galactic Council convened in anger. Reports of human victories spread too quickly. Whispers were reaching other species under their control. Worlds that had long been silent began to stir with dangerous thoughts. If the humans can fight back, why can't we? The whispers asked. For the first time, the Council realized the danger was not only in Earth's weapons, but in Earth's example. Humanity was becoming a symbol, a spark that could ignite rebellion across the stars. On Earth, the people understood little of politics, but they understood survival. Food was scarce, cities still lay in ruins, and millions had no homes. Yet the people endured, because they knew the fight was not only for survival, it was for freedom. Every battle in space gave the survivors on Earth new courage. Every time alien wreckage burned across the night sky, they cheered. In the jungles of South America, fighters turned alien crash sites into strongholds. In the deserts of Africa, resistance groups built hidden launch pads for new ships. In Europe, scientists decoded alien transmissions and fed the information back to the fleets. Humanity had never been so united. Old borders meant nothing. Every hand that could fight, build, or heal was part of the war. The war beyond Earth was not just fought with weapons. It was fought with information. Hackers on Earth discovered flaws in alien communications, allowing human fleets to slip past patrols. Spies used captured alien tech to disguise signals, creating ghost fleets that confused the enemy. Even children played their part, carrying messages, planting false signals, or helping hide fighters. Humanity had become a swarm, small but impossible to stop. One of the boldest missions came when a human fleet attacked an alien outpost on Titan, Saturn's largest moon. The station was heavily armed, built to guard the outer edge of the solar system. But the humans came prepared. Submarines launched from Earth's oceans carried missiles modified with alien energy cores. Hybrid ships struck hard, their cannons blazing. The outpost fired back with terrifying force, but the humans kept pressing forward. In the end, the station fell, its defenses torn apart, its flames lighting the icy surface of Titan. The victory shook the invaders. Titan was not just a station, it was a symbol of their control. Losing it to humans was unthinkable, yet it had happened. Across the galaxy, enslaved species heard the news. They began to look at the sky not with despair, but with hope. For the first time in centuries, they saw a chance that the Council could be challenged. They saw that the humans were not just fighting for Earth, they were fighting for something greater. The galaxy began to whisper a new word for them: dragon. Back in the council chambers, fear grew. Some demanded the total destruction of Earth through planetary bombardment. Others warned that such an act would only confirm humanity as martyrs and inspire rebellion across 100 worlds. The council was divided, and division was dangerous. The humans had done more than fight. They had sown doubt among the rulers of the stars. Yet the war was far from over. The invaders gathered their largest fleets, preparing to strike back with overwhelming force. They would not allow Earth to continue this defiance. The humans had won battles, but the Council intended to win the war. And so, as human fleets celebrated their victories and survivors on Earth whispered of hope, the skies beyond began to darken. Shadows of vast armadas moved across the stars, greater than anything humanity had faced before. The dragon had awakened, but the storm was still coming. The galaxy had grown restless. Whispers of rebellion spread from one world to another, carried in secret by traitors and fugitives. The name of humanity was no longer unknown. It was spoken with awe, with fear, and with hope. The Galactic Council, enraged and desperate, gathered its largest fleet in history. Thousands of warships, armed with weapons older and stronger than anything humans had ever seen, were directed toward one purpose: to crush Earth and erase the dragon before its fire spread too far. On Earth, the resistance prepared for the storm. They knew it was coming. They knew the Council would not allow them to stand forever. In hidden bases, leaders met once again, their faces lit by flickering maps of the solar system. "They are coming with everything," one general said quietly. "If we stand alone, we will fall." But humanity was no longer alone. Across the stars, voices answered Earth's cry. On a world enslaved for centuries, rebels rose with stolen weapons, distracting the Council's fleets. On another world, miners sabotaged fuel shipments, slowing the advance of warships. Humanity's fire had spread, and the Council's grip was no longer unchallenged. Still, the main fleet advanced, darkening the skies as it entered the solar system. The Earth shook with fear, but also with resolve. The dragon would not retreat. Humanity's fleets, though small in number, were waiting. Hybrid warships, clumsy but powerful, launched from hidden bases. Submarines rose from the seas to fire missiles that roared into the sky. From the craters of ruined cities, new cannons unleashed beams of stolen energy. The final battle had begun. The Council's fleet struck first, raining fire upon Earth's defenses. Shields cracked, ships shattered, and whole cities trembled beneath the bombardment. Yet even as the sky burned, humanity struck back. Fighters darted between massive warships, targeting weak points with reckless bravery. Boarding teams launched on suicide runs, forcing their way into enemy hulls to plant explosives. Every human ship that fell took an alien vessel with it. The battle stretched across the void, from the orbit of Earth to the far reaches of Mars. Human ships fought like wolves, tearing into the massive armada with fury. They knew they were outnumbered, but they also knew this was the moment that would decide everything. If they fell now, Earth was lost. If they stood, the galaxy itself might change. At the height of the battle, a single human fleet broke through enemy lines and struck at the Council's flagship. It was a monstrous vessel, larger than cities, with shields that glowed like a sun. But the humans did not turn away. They fought their way closer, losing ship after ship, until only a handful remained. On the bridge of the lead human ship, the commander gave the order. All power to the core. For Earth. The ship, already burning, hurled itself at the flagship. The collision tore through the enemy's shields, ripping the vessel open in a blast brighter than dawn. The Council's flagship was gone. Across the battlefield, alien commanders froze in disbelief. Their leader's destruction echoed through their ranks like thunder. Human fighters, seeing the moment, roared forward with renewed fury. The invaders began to break. One by one, their ships fell, consumed by fire and fury. Hours later, the great armada was gone. Some ships were destroyed, others fled into the darkness, their crews broken by a force they could not understand. Earth was scarred, bleeding, and burned, but it stood. The dragon had not only survived. It had shaken the stars. Across the galaxy, oppressed peoples rose in rebellion. Chains were broken, banners of freedom raised. The Council, once unchallenged, now trembled. Humanity had shown the impossible could be done. They had fought the greatest power in the galaxy and endured. On Earth, survivors looked at the night sky with new eyes. It was no longer the prison of their invaders. It was the path to their future. The cost had been terrible. Entire cities lay in ruins. Millions had perished. Families would carry scars forever. But the story of humanity would be written not in ashes, but in fire. In council halls across the galaxy, one truth could no longer be denied. Earth was not weak. Earth was not prey. Earth was the dragon. And its roar would echo across the stars for ages to come. The aliens had struck Earth cities, believing they could force submission. But instead, they had awakened something greater than they could ever imagine. Humanity's answer had been fire and fury. And the stars themselves would never forget it.